All right, two things we want to do with this sim as we're learning about it. We want to understand this virtual environment. Okay, we learn about the environment. And that means thinking about our company like a real company. All right? We also need to learn the mechanics of uploading and downloading and working with our team and things like that. Now, we have a company, it's called Andrews Inc. Picture it in your head. You've got a marketing department, a finance department, an R&D department. We're going to be making some HR decisions. That's going to be an additional module we'll add later, and a TQM sustainability module, which will be another thing that we will add later. Of course, all right. That Foundation Fast Track is really important. It's where we get a lot of information. We're going to be using it today for different things, and it updates each year with the prior round's decisions. Now the practice rounds, 3 practice rounds, then I'm going to reset everything back to the way it was in the beginning. So it's the one time we'll back up with those. But they are rewritten each time based on how the game is going. So they're dynamic documents. For this, again, the segment demand growth rates are going to vary each round, not by a whole lot, but when we do them, I'll show you where in the Foundation Fast Track, and we did it when we went over situation analysis as well. We'll show where they are in the Foundation Fast Track, but this is going to be important for our forecasting, that they vary a little bit. And I'm going to give you that worksheet to kind of sketch out your team's strategy. And I'll put this information on that as well. Now, as far as the computer part goes, all computer teams are set to average. They're not that good. All right, so don't say, oh, we can't do well, this is terrible. Okay, it's not. You'll do all right. An important thing that you interface with is the decision support software, Foundation.xls. It's a spreadsheet file, but it doesn't look like a spreadsheet file, but that's what's behind it. It's where you have to hit enter because it's an online spreadsheet file, okay? Here is your team. You're on the Andrews team, you have members here. Down across here are the computer teams that you are competing against. All of you have access to the decision software. When you open up that decision software, it goes and reads from Chicago or wherever, out in the cloud, what information for your team is out there. So it reads that, and that's how it fills up the data in your decisions. You make your decision file. You make decisions in this Foundation.xls, and then you upload your decisions to your team's official decision file, which is a little file somewhere in the cloud. It's your team's official decision file. And those become your decisions. That's how you upload decisions. Now, you can write over that. It's just a file that's sitting out there in space for you guys. You can overwrite it a zillion times. So don't think, oh gosh, I uploaded decisions, but this isn't what we wanted to do. It's okay. You can overwrite them. You can overwrite them a lot, and they're not going to count until the due date and time. And the due date for decisions, well, I think every time it's the day after I give you team time in class, and it's at 9 in the morning. Okay, so 9 in the morning, the day after I gave you class. Because later on, especially some teams won't be there. So, oh, can we meet? Yeah, can we meet later? Yeah, we can do that. Okay, it's up to you. I encourage you early on to come to class to make your decisions because you can ask questions. You can ask questions from other places too, by email and stuff like that. It's just tough. Now I'm going to codify some of these things and give you a couple of warnings, all right? Each team has a file at CapSim where the team's decisions are stored. Each member of the team can save and retrieve decisions from this file. This is called the official decision file. You, your teammates, me, and the simulation can all see it, all right? Any uploaded decision to this official decision can be overwritten a million bazillion times before the round due date and time. So don't think, we're stuck with that, all right? At the due date and time for the round, whatever decisions are in the team's official decisions file will be processed, and the sim results will become available for the next round. Okay? One thing, since you all have power to do that, I rarely have this, but just don't abuse that power. I had one student that never came to class, wasn't very good. This was a couple of years ago. He says, I gotta contribute to my team. So like the night before, after the team had made decisions, he'd go back in and change some things. Communicate with your team, work with them, okay? After the sim runs, when you open it up, it will automatically move you to the next round, and that's the data that will populate the sim for where your products are, how much cash you have, all that kind of stuff. Now, each team member also has a draft space out there in the cloud, so your individual draft space. Keep in mind, only you can access it, can see it, can do anything with it. All right? Your teammates can't see it, I can't see it, the simulation can't see it. All right? I don't recommend using that draft space, or at least use it with caution. Because what will happen if teams get used to using that, they'll say, oh yeah, we all did the decisions, and yeah, Joe uploaded them, and now it's saying it didn't use our decisions. It's broken. Well, no, Joe uploaded, but he uploaded it to draft. All right? Sim can't see the draft. So just be careful. To really have decisions count when it runs, they have to be in that official decision file. I'll show you where that is, and we'll have 3 practice rounds to work on that. I have had teams tell me a team member uploaded decisions by the deadline, but they were to draft. These don't count as actual official decisions, and you kind of take what you get when that happens. All right? Another thing that I have to emphasize in the days of Google Sheets is a lot of people think if we all have our computers open and we're sitting together, if I put something in a cell and hit enter, it will just appear on everybody else's. All right? Don't do that. Okay? The way you're really connected to your other teammates is through that official decisions file. All right? So if you're working on your computer, if you want others to see it on your team, what you're doing, you have to upload to that official decision file, and then they have to read what's in that official decision file. It's real easy to do. It's really quick. All right? But something to be cognizant of. All right? And I'll just codify this again. If you are in foundation.xls, you want to see changes a teammate just made, and you're all in it. All right? The teammate, needs to upload or save the decisions to the team's decision file. Goes pretty quick. All right? Then you need to click on Undo to Official Decisions. Pretty quick again. It will go out and it will grab the official decisions that they just uploaded, and they will populate your screen with them. All right? This will change all entries you see to whatever is now in the official decision file, which is what your teammate just uploaded. Communication and all these things are key. I really like to have scratch paper or something like that to write decisions on. There's going to be little calculations you're going to need to do. Nothing you can't do with the most basic calculator in the world. This is not like really tough kind of stuff. But don't be afraid to make those little calculations. We're going to make a few today, because they can end up doing a lot better. So they'll say, well, it's math, I don't do math. It's multiplication. That's pretty much it. Some addition, but not too hard. Okay? We'll get more used to this as we go through the practice rounds. Now, as far as this practice decision, I am going to make some strategic goals for it. 1, make and sell my current product, which is able, and begin to transition it towards being a profitable product aimed at low-tech customers. Right now, it's a product that's right in the middle, just like everybody else's. It's serving both high-tech customers and low-tech customers because it's the only show in town. We may be able to do that for a couple of rounds, but then all the companies, all the teams are going to start developing products that are focused either on the high tech or focused on the low tech. And if you're stuck in the middle, you're not going to be able to compete, because that's not so good. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Able product, and I don't have to do it all at once, but I'm going to slowly start transitioning it towards making it more attractive to low-tech customers. I'm hoping and assuming high-tech customers are still going to buy it for a couple of rounds until these other ones emerge. But that's what I want to do. I'm also going to start a new product called ACE that will be targeted towards high-tech customers. So I'm going to have one low-tech and one high-tech. I could add another one down the road or something like that. Some teams decide to have two high-tech. One benefit of that is they share marketing. They share salespeople, so you can live in there. You could have two low-tech, one high-tech. What's the best thing to do? I think you need at least two products. I encourage you during the practice round. It just makes a lot of sense to make your existing product low-tech because it's already 3.1 years of age. You want to do situation analysis. And so you're kind of fighting upstream. Whereas if you make it more low-tech, you're kind of just letting the drift come by with it. And then start a new product in that high-tech segment. Okay? I'm not going to say the decisions I'm making here are correct or the decisions. There are no the decisions. All right? It's not like there's an answer key out there. All right? And the sim varies each time. You can go and say, well, last semester these guys did this, and I got the exact things they did every single round. It'll be terrible because the game keeps changing a little bit. All right, it's like saying we're going to play a hockey game and we're going to skate to the exact same places we did the last time we played these guys. Well, no, it's not going to work. You have to adapt to the game and how it's moving. I think they're okay decisions. I don't think they're bad decisions, but they're okay decisions, and they'll help us to see what goes into a decisions round. Okay? A lot of this simulation, I find, is about execution. Can you win with two products in each segment? Yes. Can you win with one in each segment? Yes. Can you win with two in one and one in the other? Yes. One product alone, that gets kind of tough. But you can do well. Now, oops. I didn't get to this quite yet. Let's go into the software. And here's, I encourage you again to take some notes. To make decisions, we're going to click on Decisions. This opens up that foundation.xls that me and all my teammates have. I'm going to launch the web spreadsheet, and it gives us the interface. This looks like, or is basically the same thing you saw when you did the rehearsals. This is the interface to that ERP system that looks across your organization, like SAP or PeopleSoft. Some commands across the top. There's a little coach I can turn on. Won't tell you exactly what to do, but we'll give you things to think about and stuff like that. Here under File, I can make some decisions and then update them to that official decision file for my team. I could upload them to that draft, but remember, you're the only one that can see them. What will often happen is somebody in the team might, before class, say, oh, I made some decisions. I put them onto the decision file. Take a look at them before class. Let me know what you think or add to them or whatever it is. But you've got to do it in the official decision file for them to see that. All right? You could also, again, save the draft, or you could just exit and get out of there. Here's this undo. You can undo to official decisions, which is whatever's in that file out there for your team. Or if you've kind of messed with that file and you don't want to deal with that file anymore, you're going over and driving, I just want to go back to what the defaults were for the start of the round. You can just click undo start a round. So if you were all working together and you want everybody to see what's on your computer, you would have to go to File, Update Official Decisions, boom, and it update Official Decisions, and then everybody else would have to go into undo to Official Decisions. If they just fired up their computer, or they just fired up the foundation.xls, whatever's in that official decision file would come in. Now, decisions is where we make decisions. In R&D, marketing, production and HR, and finance. So HR is going to be a module. It's going to come on in the second round, and TQM sustainability will come on in the fourth round. All right, so don't have to jump into those right away. What are pro formas? Here I have balance sheet, income statement, all that kind of stuff, but they're pro formas. They're projected. Think projected. Given the decisions you made, back in decisions, if you hit your forecast, this will show you what your balance sheet will look like, your income statement will look like, your cash flows, stuff like that. They're not what happened. They're what kind of you hope will happen. All right? And they're completely contingent on you hitting your forecasts. You can do better in your forecasts sometimes. I'll show you that now. But if you do worse than your forecasts, things won't turn out quite as good as you thought. But here you can see your balance sheet, your income statement, your cash flows, your financial ratios. They give an estimate of stock price. If you hit your forecast, here's what we project. Reports. Under annual reports, it gives you what actually happened to your company last round, the income statement, the balance sheet, stuff like that. So those are the actuals. And then it gives you all the main sections of the Foundation Fast Track, which we're going to be using a lot. And then finally, there's help. There's all kinds of help if you have a problem. And of course, I'm there to help as well. You can send me an email or something like that, and I'll respond. Or you can always ask questions in class when they give you team time. But just to be cognizant, sometimes I'll have a lot of teams at that time. And especially if you've really got one that you really flummoxed about, somebody send me an email ahead of class so I can look it over. Makes it much more efficient for one call. All right? Now, we're going to start making decisions. And pretty much always kick off decisions in research and development. In R&D, we have ABLE, we can change its performance, we can change its size, we can change its mean time between failure, which is that measure of reliability, how long will it last. Down here, it gives us our material costs for ABLE. Here's what they are right now. Here's what they will be given any R&D changes we will make. We're not making any R&D changes. The bottom one will be new material costs if we make changes. Right now we don't have any changes, so they're the same. Here's the perceptual map and where it will be 12 months from today. So it's perceptual map at the end of this year. You can always look up here and it will give you year. In the year it says is 2025. So pretend it's the first day of 2025 and you're making decisions for the year 2025. This shows you where your products are going to be versus the perceptual map, because remember, high-tech and low-tech customers are always wanting smaller and more higher performing sensors. That's moving down and to the right. This gives you your age profile. 3.1 years of age is the design age right now for your product. Remember, it's the design age. How long ago was ABLE designed? All right. Now, if we change something in R&D, it affects the design age. If we change performance or size, it will change the design age. Because we're coming out with an iPhone 13B. All right. Now, do they think it's a brand new product? No. All right. But they'll say, well, it's kind of new. So they take whatever the design age is for that product and they cut it in half. All right?
So if you make a small change to the product,
Yep.
will the age be 0?
No, it will be cut in half. And I'll show you that in a minute. All right? So that will cut it in half. If it's a brand new product, when it comes out of R&D, it's 0. But then after that, if you want to keep a product's age really low, like a high-tech product, R&D every year. Keep cutting that in half. If it's a low-tech product, they want 3. And remember, we can go out to the Foundation Fast Track and look at these segment reports. This gives us what low-tech wants. And pretty important to them is an ideal age of 3. They really care a lot about price. But pretty important to them is that ideal age of 3, and reliability in that range, and then an ideal position, not that important to them as long as it doesn't fall out of the circle. And actually, for low tech, you don't mind being a little further back in the circle. You don't want to fall out. all right? Because then they'll say, well, that's just not good enough. But as long as you're kind of in the circle, and you want to lead it a little bit because it's floating back and forth here, you get much lower cost. Your material costs are lower. All right? Let me show you a couple of those things. These are questions you can ask. Let's say we just change the performance a little bit. Let's make it, instead of 5.9, let's make it a little bit worse. We move it. Let's see, was that 5.9? Let's make it 5.7. All right, what happens? It's going to go into R&D. That R&D will not be done until February 23rd of 2025, of this year. So it'll take almost 2 months for them to get the specs down for reducing the mean time between, for changing the performance. All right? It shows up in red how this one compares to the old one. Pretty darn close. Okay? We're not making that big of a change. When it comes out at this time, its revision date, it's cut in half. Boom, boom. It'll go down to 1.6. All right? So that's how we can manage age of an existing product, is by timing R&D. If it's a product you want to appeal to high-tech customers, they want an ideal age of 0. So I want to do R&D every year in that. That's why I like to start a new product as a high. If I want a high-tech product, I don't try to move this one. I usually try to get a new one because it will come out at 0, and then I do R&D on it every year. So this just looks like a sawtooth thing over time, as I just keep doing R&D and cutting it half, cutting it half, cutting it half. Yeah.
Would this decision like make the customers not want to buy it at all, or just
What I did right here,
or just decrease
it would decrease the demand. A little, just a tiny bit probably. Because they don't care that much about me lowering the performance, because that's not that important to them. But the age is going away from the ideal. Now, things age over time. You can't always be 3. So what I really try to do, have new R&D come out, have it finished when the product is about 4 years old. Then do the R&D, that cuts it to 2. Have it in a position where it won't fall out of the circle, and you can kick back for 2 years. You wait that 2 years till and start some R&D. You might have to start R&D before then, but have it before when it comes out of R&D again. And it goes to 2, so it's 4 to 2. It goes 4 to 2, back over 3, 4 to 2, back over 3. All right. In some ways, the R&D schedule is easier for a high-tech product because it's just like every year. So that's not too difficult. To be honest, though, I'm looking at 3.1, and that's pretty good. It's pretty close to 3. I'm going to go ahead and undo to my official decisions. That takes me back to what we had before. I'm not going to change the performance or size this year. I'm not saying this is the perfect decision, but I think it's reasonable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a year, and then next year I'm going to make one of those little changes. So that little change will be done when it's maybe 4.3 years old, and then that'll cut it back down to 1.9, no, 2. All right, we'll cut it in half. Just remember, if we change performance or size, it's like saying it's an iPhone 16D or something like that. In their mind, they cut it in half. I'm not going to make a change this time. I'm going to let it age. And then since I want it to be a low-tech product, I'm going to even kick it back a little bit. Things will keep moving down, so naturally it's going to flow towards the back. But I might kick it back a small bit. And by back, I mean up towards the upper left corner. Question? Good. Okay. I am going to make one change, though. Mean time between failures, 21,000. This thing's pretty durable. Low-tech customers, the most they would want is 14 to 20,000. Now, I'm still selling some of this product, Able, to high-tech customers as well. We sold 360 to high-tech. And for a couple of years, I'll be able to do that. You can be stuck in the middle for a year or two, all right, and still do okay because nobody can move that fast to kind of make products that are tailored just towards those 2 areas. So I might still send them to high tech. High tech wants one, they don't care that much about mean time between failure. They want between 17 and 23. I'm gonna tell R&D, redesign it so it has a lower mean time between failure. This won't alienate high tech, it's still in their range, but look what it did to my costs. My material costs went from $15.97 to $14.52. I'm able to get less expensive components. They're not as durable. Now, does it affect the age of the design? No. It's my iPhone's over there, but it's the same iPhone. It's just maybe the back of the case, would break a little bit earlier, but it'll still last plenty longer. That allows us to have lower costs. Now, we're going to pass some of this savings on to the customer, and we're going to keep some of it for ourselves. All right, so it's a win-win move that we can make out of this. Notice again, it did not change the age. That just kept going in a straight line. But for R&D, for Able, I think this is pretty reasonable. And then next year when I look at it, I'm definitely going to want to manage the age. I'll probably make the performance and the size, just change them by a little bit, to make it a little bit worse. And get that R&D done, that'll cut the age and keep working towards making that more of a low-tech product. Again, I'm not saying this is perfect. You might find out a way to move it back further or something like that off the get-go, really get your material costs down. But this is reasonable. Any questions on Able's R&D? I didn't do attendance today, did I? You're all here. If you're not here, I'll put this video out and send out an email. Okay. Thank you for being here. Now I want to go into marketing for Able. So we're going to follow Able through. Now, Able, we figured out a way to get its costs down by about $1.50. Last year we sold it for $34. Let's give 50 cents of that back to customers, and we'll keep the rest of the savings ourselves. Now, we can only set price once a year, and it's going to be in R&D for 2 months before this cheaper cover comes on. So the people who buy it in the first 2 months are going to kind of get a deal because they're going to be paying a lower price and they're going to get the old tough cover. But that's just the way it goes. It's a simplifying assumption they make that we update prices once a year. Also keep in mind, when a product's undergoing an R&D change, you keep selling the old version up until the date the new one comes out. And then they assume they can go back in and change any inventory you might have. So I'm going to lower the price a little bit. Promo budget. Promo budget drives our awareness. It's advertising. Are people aware that this product exists? If I go out here, awareness for this product is 55%. Only 55% of the customers even know this product exists. All right? When we did the situation analysis, that was like a low B, which was the middle one we were looking for. It was A, B, and C. I personally like to do better than that. And so I'm going to have us spend a little bit more on promotion. And the way this works, you can click this little I here, and it will give you what's in the manual about how things work. All right? To kind of lay it out, if you don't spend anything on promotion, no advertising, each year 1/3 of the customers will forget about you. But if you go and do advertising, you kind of buy back eyeballs. And the way it works, it's subject to diminishing returns. I'm going to cut down to this area here. Your first 1 million, so default was spending 1 million, that's going to increase our awareness by 22%. So we would lose 1/3 of 55, and then we would add 22. That second million adds another 23%. So that gets us up there a good bit further. The third million, only 5%. All right? That third million is really decreasing returns. It's too many commercials. All right? Yeah, we know they exist already. We're fine. I like that 2 million, so I'm gonna put in 2 million here. When I put this in, I want you to look at what happens to this benchmark prediction. It's 849 now. It just went to 959. Okay? Now this benchmark prediction is not a forecast. But you can see, if we make some of these changes, does it look like our demand's going to go up or down from these types of changes? If I put in another, it went to 3 million, I bet you that benchmark prediction won't go up by very much because it doesn't add that much. All right? So I'm going to spend some more on advertising to drive up the promo budget, which should get some more demand. Sales budget, you can think of these as like your salespeople. Can they deliver the product? Your dealerships, how good your website is. Do people find you easy to get the product from? Acura automobiles, people know they exist in Kalamazoo, right? But you can't buy one in Kalamazoo. So their awareness, because of all their promotion, is fairly high. But they haven't invested in a dealership here, so their accessibility is pretty low. We want people to know our products exist, and we want them to know how to get them. If we look and see what our accessibility is right now for this low-tech segment, it's the same as everybody else, but it's 40%. That's pretty low. People can't really get our product. In the situation analysis, that gave that a rating of C, all right, on ABC. So we like to do a little better. This works in a similar way, but a little different. Here, I'm going to cut down to here. First of all, products within a segment are assigned the segment accessibility. So if I have 2 high-tech products, they take advantage of the same salespeople, basically. So I get a twofer. Any money I put towards accessibility for one product helps the other, if they're in the same segment. Because the salesperson is visiting the customer and they can do both. Now, as far as the impact on accessibility, again, it's diminishing returns. If you have only one product in a segment, okay, here it is. Accessibility decays over time. You lose a third each year. 1 million sales budget across all the products in a segment adds 7%. 2 million adds 22%. So you get increasing returns for the second million. You get a lot of bang for your buck. The third million only adds another 10%. I don't know what's perfect here, but I think reasonable is go ahead and spend 2 million there too. Watch what happens to that benchmark prediction. It went up. So again, this isn't a bad thing to do. Now, this benchmark prediction. A lot of people think, oh, it does the forecast for us. The benchmark prediction estimates unit sales, assuming your product competes with a standardized mediocre playing field. Right now, the playing field is worse than standardized mediocre, and pretty soon it becomes better than standardized mediocre. It's not a very good forecast, but it will kind of, if you see it way different than what you're forecasting, you can't figure it out, talk to me about it. All right, there's something, you're doing something that's not working quite right. But it's good for experimenting like we did with price promos, sales budgets. They emphasize here, it says it here, I'm not saying this, it says it. It is useless for forecasting. You need to come up with your own forecast. And this is where you have to do a little arithmetic. It's not high-level math, it is arithmetic. In that kicking off with CapSim guide that I gave you the first day, on the last 2 pages, I go over 2 different methods of forecasting for an existing product, and I talk a little bit about how to forecast for a new product. I'm going to show one of those methods today. I encourage you to take some notes as I go through it. It's not that complicated. But the first approach to forecasting we are going to use is an extrapolation forecast. And it's usually what most companies use as their benchmark forecast. And it's that what we are going to sell this year for a product is what we sold. You want to guess? What was it?
Last year?
Last year. Okay, this was supposed to be last year. It's from your perspective. No, that would be the year before, okay, so it's this one, we'll go back. Okay, so that was my problem, sorry about that. All right, what we're gonna sell this year is going to be what we sold last year. Sometimes they call it the naive forecast, but it's really a good benchmark, and a lot of times really sophisticated models don't do a better job. If you're in financing, they talk about random walks. That's basically assuming it's a random walk. Best guess for what a stock price will be tomorrow is what it is today. Okay? Hard pressed to come up with a lot of sophisticated models that do better than that. So we're going to do it based on that, but we're going to get some more information. And this is information I encourage you to scribble down. All right, and how I do this. I'm going to go out to reports, and let's start with low tech. The low tech segment, what's its growth rate going to be for the year? 9.6%. And this you did for the situation analysis, so we're reviewing that. 9.6%. That will change each year, but we know this coming year, the whole market's going to grow 9.6%. All right? We can also go down here and see how many we sold to low-tech customers. And how much was that? For Able. 840. All right? That's good information. Remember, for the first couple of rounds, we'll probably be able to sell the high-tech too, so I'm not going to discount those. In coming years, I'll start to reduce what I'm going to sell to high-tech for this product because better high-tech products are going to be coming in. I'm making this more of a low-tech product. But what's the growth rate for high-tech segment? Somebody on this side of the room. 21%. How many did we sell to them? Somebody over here. How many did we sell? Can you see? How many Able did we sell to high-tech customers? How many units did we sell to the high-tech customer segment? All right, well, we'll expand a little bit. How many? 360. 360. Okay, I know, so it's a hard shot. Units sold to segment, same as everybody else. So you say, well, it's a high-tech product. Products really aren't high-tech or low-tech. They're purchased more by either high-tech or low-tech customers. Right now we have one product that's being bought by both. All right? So we have that information. Now if we just did what we're going to sell this year is what we sold last year, we just add the 360 plus, what was the number above for low-tech that we sold? 840. We just add those together. But we know the market's going to be growing. So we're going to look and adjust for that growth rate. So what I'm going to do, low tech, sold 840, 9.6% growth rate. If we just get the industry growth rate, that 840 should turn into about 920. So 840 times 1 plus that 9.6% will give me the growth rate. Right? Arithmetic. Nothing you couldn't do in the most basic calculator made. High tech. 360, growing at 21%. 360 times 1.21 is 435.6. Now, if I think I'm going to keep selling to both pretty much this year, because nobody's going to be able to move that fast to customize, what's the last step? Guess what? Add them together. Okay? So here's where we have to do some addition. We add them together. That gives us an extrapolated forecast for Able, adjusted for segment growth rates, of 1,356. Is it the right answer? No, there is no. This is forecasting. It's hard. All right, you put variance in so that the demands and how things work. All right, and that's part of the ambiguity that we deal with. I'm going to talk about some other methods for forecasting later, and they are in the handout that I gave you, kicking off the caps towards the end. But I'm going to go ahead and put in 1356. Notice It's better than what that benchmark prediction would have given us because the companies are really not that good yet. And it's assuming they're mediocre, and I think we're getting better, but the others maybe not. Now that forecast is now going to be used to calculate all the pro formas, all right, what we estimate our cash holdings to be when we're done. We'll show you that at the end after we make these other decisions. Now though, I'm going to look where that forecast went first, was it went over to production. All right? And in production, people have trouble with this, and I'm not sure why, but ask me questions about it if you don't quite get it. This top window is where we schedule our existing assembly line. We have one assembly line for Able. Remember, it can make 800,000 units if we run it one shift, but we could run it 2 shifts. So if we ran 2 shifts, it can make about 1.6 million. All right? This is what we have. Remember, it has an automation rating of 3. Up here, we schedule it. All right? Unit sales forecast came over 1,356. We put in how many we're going to tell our people to try to make this year. All right? How to schedule that machine. Now, from what people tell me, and this is the way a lot of operations people do it, you only count on getting a percentage of that because sometimes the line goes down, there's some switchovers, there's stuff like that. So that's your production after adjustment. You're going to lose a few. We're going to ask for 1,300, but new for the year, we're only get 1,287. All right? What we would like is our production after adjustment, plus our inventory, which is just as good as existing product, and we assume it's going to be retrofitted when it gets changed, we have inventory. All right? We need those two, inventory on hand, plus production after adjustment, great thing to write down. All right? We need that to at least cover our sales forecast, or else we're going to stock out. We're not going to have enough for the year to get our forecast, and we're guaranteed that our performance and cash flow will be all messed up. So again, production after adjustment plus inventory on hand should be equal to or greater than your unit sales forecast. I like to go a little bit greater, to be honest, to just have a little extra there, just in case I sell a few more. It all depends on really how confident you are in your forecast. But let's produce 1320. All right, that's 1,307 plus 87 is, let's see, 1,794. It will be 1,394. 1,394 is greater than 1,356. So I'll have some extras. You know, I mess with some inventory, but I might do better than my forecast. We'll see. All right, so that's okay. If I do that, it's going to run one complete first shift and 65% of a second shift. So I still got a little more I can do with this assembly line. I can grow some before it's completely gone. All right, but still got room on second shift to do more. Now this for this year is all I can have to deal with as far as assembly line goes. One that's 800,000 units, 3 for its automation. Down here is where I change my assembly line. I change my physical plant, or I build new assembly lines, because each product needs its own assembly line. Okay? I can buy capacity, I can sell capacity, I can change the automation rate. I like to think of it as the number of robots, 1 to 10. Okay? How long does it take to install these robots and get them all working? If we get new ones? 1 full year. If we make the assembly line bigger, we increase that first shift capacity. How long does that take? Still a full year. What if I want to get some money back because I made one that was too big? So I put a negative in there and I sell some off. When does that take place? What do you think? That takes place immediately. You get the cash back, but you lose the capacity. All right? Now, to be honest, I think I got some room to run with this assembly line still. I'm only using 65% of second shift. And so I'm not gonna make it any bigger this round. I'm not gonna make it any smaller either, but I'm gonna leave that. But I would like to automate it more. That automation will cut my labor cost. So I'm gonna take this up to 5 robots. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on my R&D, because it's gonna slow my R&D, but that's a slower moving segment, and if I time things well, I think it should be okay. So I've got that in the works, so next year we'll look even brighter, all right? Now, remember, up here is where you schedule your existing machines, down here is where you change your machine, your assembly line machines. Now, let's go back and look at ACE. I want to launch a new product called ACE. One of the first things I'll do is go to the high-tech segment analysis. What is most important to them? Being near that ideal spot, which is toward the leading edge of that high-tech circle, the one further down to the right. Okay? Next most important to them is the ideal age. They want 0. So I'm coming out with a new product, it will be 0, and then I want to do R&D on it every year to keep it near that ideal spot and keep cutting the age in half. All right? Price, they care about that, but I'm not going to worry too much about that, because if I give them the product they're looking for, they'll pay it. Reliability, even less important, so I kind of want to be in the zone there. They want 17 to 23. So I played around with this for a while, and I'm going to type in ACE here. For performance, and this I did through trial and error by seeing where it was. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. I didn't do a lot of high-level math, and maybe there's some that you could do that would help, but I don't think you have to. I'm going to put an 8.2 here, and I'm going to put an 11.8 here. And for mean time between failure, I'm just going to kind of put it in the middle. All right, if they wanted between 17 and 23, I put it at 20. Boom. There it is. There ACE shows up out here. Now that's beyond that circle, but ACE is going to take over 1.5 years to come out of R&D. So by then, my thought is the high-tech moves, we learned from situation analysis, 0.7, 0.7. So it's going to move out there. I'll probably be I'm hoping right around in here, all right, when it comes out. They want one that's right around in here, maybe we'll go past that, but during the year, that will go by, but it'll be right near that ideal spot, okay? And to be honest, I just kind of did that by looking at it, knowing the concepts involved, and playing it. Don't want to too much further than that, because I don't want to completely overshoot, but I also don't want to be pushed too far to the back. Keep in mind, today is the first day of 2025. This will not come out of R&D till August 13th, 2026. It's going to take a while for R&D to design this brand new product. Okay, the next thing I want to do then, and here's what its material costs will look like. Age is 0 when it comes. Next year it'll be 0 the whole time because it doesn't exist yet. All right? So now I'm going to go into marketing for ACE. Can't do anything for marketing for ACE. How come? It doesn't exist yet. It won't exist for another 1.5 years. I may want to do something, though, in production. Because remember, each product needs its own assembly line. Now we have ACE down there as one of our potential assembly lines. We don't have an assembly line for ACE. It's very typical that certain teams just forget to buy. They go, well, why can't we sell our product? Let's get you an assembly line for it. All right? Now, it takes a year, and so this again is where I use my scratch paper, and I lay out some timelines. Today is 1/1/2025. Today in SimWorld is 1/1/2025. Here's a year from now when we'll be making decisions again. It's 1/1/2026. Here's the day that ACE comes out of R&D, 8/13/2026. Now, I got to make a choice here. I can go and start building an assembly line today it will be ready here, but I'm not going to be able to use that assembly line until the product comes out of R&D. I ain't finished R&D and a finished assembly line to make in. But if I wait a year, the assembly line won't be ready till here, and my really cool high-tech product will have nowhere to produce it. If it was a low-tech product, I might say that's fine, they're like 3 years old anyway. But given it's a practice round, and I want to sell some of these because that's important learning for my team, all right, I'm going to go ahead and start a new assembly line now. All right, it's going to be done in a year, but then I know when everybody's looking for my latest and greatest ace to come out, I'll be able to start producing it as soon as possible. Make reasonable sense? All right, so we're going to go over to production. Can't schedule anything because we have nothing to schedule it on. I'm going to go down here. How big should I make it? Well, I guess ideally, I'll go back to here. I would maybe go back to that situation analysis. I'm going to make an educated guess. Think about what I know. And I know, I mean, this rate is going to change a little bit, but it's going to be around 21%. You know, second and third year is when it's going to be out. I probably don't want my high tech, or I don't want my high tech to be as automated because I want to do that R&D every year and have R&D go quick. And so I probably don't want to run as much second shift on that. So I'll just say I'm going to low automation, so I can cook with my R&D, and I'm gonna just run one shift. Let's see. In 2 years, it's going to be 3163. Let's say everybody has a high tech product. Nah, I don't think everybody. I'll say 5. 5 of the 6 teams will have one focus at the high tech. All right. Well, 3163 divided by 5 is around 600, right? So maybe build a plant that can make 600. Okay. Again, am I using some precise little formula stuff? No, but I'm kind of looking and making a decent, educated guess based on what I know. Now, because I can't extrapolate because the product, I can't look at last year for this product. All right, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to put in 600 for its first shift capacity, and I'm not going to automate it very much. I'm just going to automate it at 2 and try to run mostly first shift capacity. I go in here, I hit recalculate, and everything turns red and crosses out. Oh no! My finance guy is screaming at me. We don't have that kind of money. We can't build all this stuff. We will over time. We're confident in that. But they're giving me a max invest limit of 6.9 million, and I'm trying to spend 14 million. So here I got to scale back my dreams a little bit. I play with this. I don't have to go in to do the calculations, but I let it do the calculations. I know the concepts. First of all, maybe for Able, I want to get it to have more automation, but automation is expensive. Let's start by moving it to 4. Hit recalculate. Still red, but better. To be honest, I just kept playing with this until I built an assembly line that I could afford. All right, I put in 400, 350, da da da. I ended up around 250. Now if I hit recalculate, yep, I'm at 6.7, they allow me 6.9, maybe I can make it a little bit bigger if I wanted to, but sometimes you're constrained by how much you can afford as well. All right? Now that next year when I go to schedule, I'm only going to have this small assembly line for part of the year, but at least I'll be able to get some of that product out there, get a track record on it, get moving, that'll help me with my forecasting. Lots of good things can happen with that. All right. Now I've got to go talk to my finance guy. Finance, corporate finance looks a lot at is how do we get the money we need, how do we get rid of money when we don't need it anymore, and how do we have a reasonable cash balance so that we can pay our bills that come up, because we have to pay our people, we have to pay our suppliers, all that kind of stuff. Now, ways that we can get money in the sim. We have stockholders, we could issue more stock. All right, the maximum is 4.4 million right now that you could issue stock for. We could also Use short-term debt. It has an interest rate right now of 8.6%. Short-term debt is debt that matures in how long? Less than a year. All right, so that's going to automatically roll over and be done. We'll pay it off at the end of the year. I could also issue bonds. My company has 3 outstanding bonds. Okay? Bonds you can retire before they're due. I think they're 10-year bonds. All right? So we could retire those once we start having money come in. But we can also issue a bond, long-term debt. Long-term interest rate's 10%. Now I look to see, do I need cash? I look down at my cash position. Last year I finished with $5.6 million in the checking account. I'm going to make a profit according to this. My earnings per share is going to be 97 cents, but my cash is going to be lower. What's too low? Well, if you're real confident in your forecast, you can run that down to $1. Because if you hit your forecast, you'll be fine. The problem comes in if you don't hit your forecast, you miss it, you're below it. All right? In that case, you run out of cash, and it's not the end of the world, but you have to get an emergency loan. It's just a high interest loan. Dings your stock price, and it costs you more money than a planned loan. How do I think about, well, do I need one or not? Sometimes I just do a little what-if analysis. What if, in marketing, instead of 1,356, what if I only sell 1,200? Well, I can put in 1,200, I go back to finance, and I'm going to run out of money. I'm going to have to get an emergency loan for 1.7 if I only sell 1,200. Because I'm not going to have the revenue coming in, I'm going to have to put some in. I'm just going to take a small loan, because I'm feeling pretty good about my forecast. And I like this low current debt of 8.6%. And I'm hoping next year I'm going to grow out of these little cash flow problems and get more and more things going. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to borrow $2 million. All right, watch what happens to my earnings per share when I do this. Right now, because I'm not selling as many, it's at 45 cents. I'm going to go ahead and click recalculate. And it goes to 39 cents. Why did it go from 45 cents to 39 cents when I took out a loan? Because I have to pay interest on the loan. But it gives me a cash cushion there. That even if I don't sell that as many as I think, I still won't run out of cash. So I can go back in here and I can put back in my original forecast if I like, and that's what it will compute all these things using. So we'll recalculate. And I'll zip back to finance. And yeah, I should have plenty of cash, but I did that contingency analysis. Now you're going to reach a point in sim, you have more money than you know what to do with. And cash just sitting down there is good, all right? It's not what business is all about. It's going to destroy your return on assets. It's going to destroy your asset turnover. You can get rid of cash by retiring stock, taking the money from there and buying stock on the open market. And you can buy back these loans, these outstanding bonds early. You can buy them back early. Get rid of cash that way. You can also give a dividend. The stockholders like them. It gets cash off your balance sheet if you don't need it. And that's another way to get rid of cash. Okay? All right, I'm feeling okay about this for my practice round. I took my existing product, Able, and I'm slowly starting to think it's going to be more targeted towards low-tech customers. I got to get its costs down. I changed its mean time between failure to do that. Next year, I'll dink it back just a little bit and let the drift kind of move ahead as far as size and performance goes. I spent a little bit more on advertising, a little bit more on sales, so that should drive up my demand. We'll see how I do next year. I lowered the price a little bit because I did reduce the mean time between failure a bit, so we got some wiggle room there. And I came up with an extrapolated forecast. Is it perfect? No, it's probably not, but I think they're reasonable. Okay? I went and produced enough to cover my forecast, and I had a little bit of automation to that line. High-tech, new product called Ace, launched it. It's going to be cutting edge. It's going to come out in a little over a year and a half, And I do have a small assembly line, and I'm starting to build for that. So I should be able to schedule some next year when we do the next round of decisions. I also looked at my finances. Doesn't look too bad, but I went and got a little bit of extra cash just as a cushion. All right. Now, good enough. So what I want to do now is go into File. I can update official decisions. Now it gives you the ability to do it by product or by department. I often do it, because usually I'm playing by myself, just hit all team decisions. Cover whatever's in here that I just did, will go up to that official decision file. Now again, that can be overwritten a zillion times until the due date and time. If you wanted to see these decisions then, and you were on the team, they'd hit save all decisions to that official decision file, and then you'd hit undo to official decisions. I could hit Andrews is already. Doesn't really matter if you hit it or not. It's going to run at 9:30 the morning after. We have team day for it. All right. I could also, if I wanted to, I'm not saying you can't, but I'm saying be careful with it. You could also do File, save it as a draft. Okay? So that's the other thing you do. That only you can see it. Questions, comments? Stick with it, just keep trying to learn. It's going to be good. You're going to learn some things since we don't have it. I'm really confident in that. Just don't give up. We'll do that little quiz on Tuesday, and then I will turn you loose with your teams. All right? Getting some textbook study questions done is a great use of your time. And I will also post this video, as long as it kept working.
Yeah.
Prepared to keep working.